Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode of Quran Weekly. So the verse that I'd like to share with you this week is from Surah Al-Tawbah, verse 62, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, يَحْلِفُونَ بِاللَّهِ لَكُمْ لِيُرْضُوكُمْ وَاللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَحَقُّ أَن يُرْضُوهُ إِن كَانُوا مُؤْمِنِينَ. They swear by Allah, they meaning the hypocrites. They swear by Allah to you Muslims, to please you. But Allah and His Messenger are worthier of being pleased by them if they are believers. In this verse, there is a subtlety that cannot be detected if you read the English translation. And this subtlety that we find, this linguistic subtlety, highlights a great maqam of the Prophet ﷺ. When you look at the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَحَقُّ أَن يُرْضُوهُ. For those of you who are familiar with Arabic, the verse says, but Allah and His Messenger are worthier of being pleased. Here, Allah and His Messenger are mentioned. The pronoun that should have been used in the ayah is the dual pronoun. If the verse was following what we would expect in terms of the pronoun usage, the verse would say, وَاللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَحَقُّ أَن يُرْضُوهُمَا. The dual pronoun should have been used. But when you look at the ayah, Allah says, وَاللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ أَحَقُّ أَن يُرْضُوهُ. Yurdu is singular, but the Messenger and Allah, they're dual. This usage of the singular pronoun highlights something very unique about the Prophet. And that is that the pleasure of Allah and the pleasure of the Prophet are not two distinct things. They're not separate. So the verse is highlighting here that the pleasure of Allah and the pleasure of the Prophet are not two separate things. They are so perfectly aligned. The pleasure of the Prophet is a perfect reflection of the pleasure of Allah, so much so that the ayah doesn't use the dual pronoun. It uses the singular pronoun to emphasize that if the Prophet is happy, if the Prophet is pleased, Allah is pleased. And if Allah is pleased, His Messenger is pleased. The pleasure of the Prophet and the pleasure of Allah are so connected that they are virtually one and the same.